Hello, my name is Hallie Hansen, and I'm going to do a presentation on Chapter 16 of Tortilla Flat. Just a quick recap as to what has happened in the story so far. So, Danny inherits 2 houses in Monterey, California from his grandfather after coming home from fighting in World War I. His friend Pylon moves into his other house, and after a drunken night, burns the house down. Danny is relieved of his responsibility of owning 2 houses. Then, throughout the book, he continues finding friends who, one by one, begin living with him for free. This group of friends is referred to as the Pacianos, Spanish for peasant and Portuguese for a soldier out of uniform. Each time one of the men owes somebody something, they create philosophical arguments as to why the person is greedy and doesn't deserve the thing. Even still, Pylon feels guilt towards not paying Danny the rent that he promised to pay him. He even attempts to find treasure one evening but fails. Then, when Danny finds a girl and buys her a vacuum cleaner, the friends convince him that she has bad intentions and steals and sells the vacuum to save him. Then Danny goes on a crazy rampage because he cannot take the responsibility of owning the house and taking care of his friends. His friends finally calm him down, and he manages to come back home and in a state of depression. While these men are drunks and beggars, they still manage to help fulfill Pirate's promise to Saint Francis of Assisi, feed a woman's 8 children, and bring the whole town together for a party. Chapter 16 begins with Danny in a state of pure apathy. Wine, women, and fighting are no longer giving him any fulfillment. Steinbeck writes, "In Danny, he sat like a half-melted man." So his friends decide to throw him a massive party and invite a ton of people in the town. Although the party goes well for everyone else, Danny is still unfulfilled. He attempts to start a fight, but no one will fight with him, so he walks out of the house and jumps off a cliff and dies. Danny was the only person who had something that the others relied on, and in this way he could never really be sure if his friends liked him for who he was. In the beginning of the book, Pylon says, "When one is poor, one thinks if I had money I would share it with my good friends, but let that money come and charity flies away." This is sort of Pylon's belief that your friends kind of need to be equal with you, and if one has more than one thing, it makes a sort of that bad dynamic. So after Pylon and Pablo burnt the house down, Danny tells himself that he's going to try to discipline his friends, but he fails to do so. He was actually kind of happy inside that he gets to be close to his friends again, and he doesn't have to feel like they owe him something. So he let his passion for friendship kind of guide his life in that way. Throughout the novel, the men's passions have revolved around friendship and freedom. Each time one of the men finds a woman, the others try not to let them go astray. They also sell any material thing, and they turn it, into wine, except the bag of money that Pirate was saving for the candle. This wine kind of holds the bond between them. All of these men were passionate about love for each other. They had philosophical principles and Catholic religious beliefs that focused on keeping each other close. This is still a common misguided passion today. Love and belonging are human needs, but one must not let them guide their life, as some people kind of do. So, in a little bit of a reflection on the chapter, looking back when he was, telling everyone who wants to fight, and nobody would fight him, I think it was sort of in that moment he realized that he kind of had this power over everybody because he had the house. He owned this thing that none of his friends had. So, reflection overall, in typical Steinbeck fashion, exactly 3 people died throughout the story: the baby, the man from the story who hung himself, and then Danny. The baby was a symbol of a better future. The man who hung himself did that so out of a passion of lust. It was sort of, you would see that all the men kind of had this view about women, that women drove a wedge in between friendships between men. So that story kind of symbolizes that. And then last, Danny died because of his passion for belonging, which he can never really find, can never really know if his friends loved him. His friends took advantage of his home, his money, and even his bed. His bed was supposed to be the one thing that they wouldn't intrude on. Every time someone new moved in, he always told them not to use his bed. So for the next and final chapter, I predict that either it'll sort of be Danny's funeral, or maybe somewhat in the future, and it'll reflect on the friends either realizing that they never had love for Danny, or that it'll reflect on how close Danny brought them, about having this one thing that they could all share.